Hey folks, it's man once again, and welcome back to another Psycho review. And this is on Psycho 3, which they pretty much used the same shot from Psycho 2, but that wasn't the poster. It was the one with Norman Bates with the keys. You know, his mother's off his rocker again. And this is one that not only Anthony Perkins starred in, but he directed. I mean, he starred in all these, but he directed Psycho 3. Unfortunately, I believe it was on this film that Anthony Perkins found out that he was HIV positive, which is really sad. And of all the Psycho films, this is the one where I felt his performance was a bit off. I don't hate the performance. I still think he did an okay job. But I think Psycho 2 was a better performance. Even Psycho 4. Like, his other... Something about his performance in this one was a bit off, and maybe that's because he was, you know, when you find out that you're HIV positive during it, I wouldn't be surprised. But I don't know, maybe I'm the only one that feels this is the one that his performance seems a little bit off, and you know, I did watch this probably over the first, because the first one, I think because the first one, it's been, even like I said before, even when you haven't seen the first film, it feels like you've seen it 20 times. Psycho 3 was the one I already saw the least amount. So seeing it, it's like, not quite sure what's all in the movie. It's, I guess, the one that I saw the least. And I think there's some good stuff. I mean, Anthony Perkins I don't think is awful, but some of his delivery is off. I don't know if it's sometimes a sing-songy type or just something off about it. But I don't think he's awful. You do get some decent kills. It is a bit more of a slasher film than Psycho 2, which I do think it's a step down from Psycho 2. I really do. I think Jeff Fahey does a good job. Psycho 3, at the end of the day, I would go, it's alright. That's really my feeling. It came out in 1986, and it's a film that's kind of pointless. It's a film that's kind of unneeded, but it's alright. It's an alright movie. It's there. I mean, you tell Anthony Perkins was trying to do some different stuff, but at the same time, I feel he was trying to be too similar to the first film as well, which I'll get into. I mean, granted, pretty much Anthony Perkins did his ode to Hitchcock at the beginning. I mean, granted, you have a woman, the first line of dialogue is, "There's no God," and you're like, what kind of movie is this now? But it's pretty much his take on Vertigo at the beginning. Because at the end of Vertigo, I mean, you have that stairwell, and then at the end of the Vertigo, you see a nun, and you see a person fall down. What's here? It's a nun trying to kill herself, but then another nun who's trying to help her falls to her death. So it's, you have nuns, you have a tower, and someone falls to their death like the end of Vertigo. Not exactly the same, but I'm like, okay, this must be his sort of take. His ode to Hitchcock and Vertigo. But it's also introduced this character, Maureen, who, again, is this nun who wanted to commit suicide, but that didn't work, so she leaves. And she gets picked up by Jeff Fahey, who's an asshole character named Duke. I thought Jeff Fahey did a good job in this. You know, he tries to get something with her. She, of course, says no. He throws her out. And of all the Psycho, I don't know if I can say that. Anthony Perkins' character, he's full Psycho mode, meaning, yeah, it's not like Psycho 2 where he's trying to stop it. This one, you know, he's back to Norman in the first movie. And he's doing taxidermy, and he poisoned a couple birds. But at the same time, one is alive, and he lets that bird go. So I guess that's sort of little, trying to keep him at least a little bit sympathetic. You know, okay, that one lived, he lets it go. It's not the most interesting, because really, it's, at least story-wise for me, I mean, Jeff Fahey goes there, gets a job at the motel. The woman, Maureen, gets up there to get a room. There's this investigator called Tracy, which I didn't like this character. I did not give a shit about her. She's pretty much writing about killers. And she tries to ask Norman Bates, and he says no, pretty much sees the girl that reminds him of Janet Leigh's character, Marion Crane, and who was in the Janet Leigh in the first movie. From what I understand, I think someone wanted Janet Leigh for the role, but the studio said no. I think that would have been interesting if it was Janet Leigh, because then it's it's a girl who kind of just because of her hair and her suitcase is MC, because her name is like Maureen something. It brings Anthony Perkins flashbacks to the first movie. But if it was Janet Leigh, it would have been interesting. But they didn't. Universal didn't want that. But I mean, he's a little bit obsessed with her, even when Jeff Fahey gives her a room, and Perkins is like, "You gave her cabin 1," and you'll see watches her through the people, and that's what I mean. It seems similar that you have to bring about the Marion Crane thing, that this is a girl who looks like the girl in the first film, and he's looking through the peephole like in the first film, and he tries to kill her like in the first film. Only the difference here is that when he sees her dressed up as mother, she committed suicide. And again, you have some ideas that Anthony Perkins was playing with, like about religion, because seeing her commit suicide snaps him out of it. She dying, she's thinking she's seen the Virgin Mary with a cross, and I'm like, okay. It pretty much, Norman Bates snaps out of it and saves her life. And they kind of have a little love story going on, which I'm like, I don't know. The character of Maureen is really not the most interesting character. Meg Tilly, I thought did a good job in Psycho 2. I don't know. The actress was there, just the character wasn't much. And sometimes it plays too much like the first one. Okay, you even have the moment where he sees a body, turns around and does this again. Or like doing the peephole thing again. At least in the second one, they kind of played off with that, like, you don't know, is it Norman doing that? Is it someone else doing that? But again, I mean, Anthony Perkins does some decent job directing-wise. Like, you think you see a bead of light, but you realize it goes like this, and it's the blade of a knife. I thought that was really interesting. I can't get over Anthony Perkins, maybe because he realized how sick he was during this movie. Sometimes, like what she says, I think at the motel there's like a homecoming, and there's a bunch of kids there, and one of them tossed to him, and he gives this weird delivery of, maybe, I don't know how to describe the delivery, it's just sort of weird off about the delivery. And that's what I mean. There's some weird stuff. I mean, the religious imagery. Jeff Fahey has a sex scene, and it's probably because he didn't want to show him fully nude. So he has like these weird lamps that he's using during the sex scene. Like just the way he's using the lamps during the sex scene is kind of weird. And then the death scenes are pretty brutal. I mean, this girl getting killed in a phone booth. And that's why I say it's a little bit more of a slasher film, because, here's a kid who's a horny girl who had fucked Jeff Fahey, and Jeff Fahey threw her out. She's in a phone booth. Decent kill, pretty good kill. I guess it's supposed to be kind of like the shower scene, the fact that you see the knife and hitting her, but definitely bloodier. And you even have you have that shot where she's like stepping on glass, like, ooh, shit. And some of the angles, almost seems like Perkins was a fan of Italian horror movies. Did you see some interesting colors like in that scene, or you have like an angle from above, or like there's another scene where he finds a body and you see just this green light on his face. I don't know if he was a fan of Dario Argento type of stuff. Maybe, I don't know, but seems like a teeny touch of that. But even that scene, he goes up, he goes, "Oh God, mother, blood, blood." The same line in the first movie. That's what I mean. There's certain moments that's just too much like the first movie. And it's like, Psycho 2 didn't do that. I mean, you even have Norman saying the line, "We all go a little mad sometimes." It just seems like it's referencing a little bit too much to the first movie. And, bringing them... Also, the fact that the girl looks kind of like Marion Crane. She has MC like Marion Crane. And it just really wasn't as interesting of a story, especially compared to Psycho 2. You have another girl who gets her throat slit and stabbed. Jeff Fahey takes the mother's body, and he wants money. And so, Anthony Perkins beats a shower with guitar. And I do like the line he says, Jeff Fahey, "Watch the guitar," of the Duke character. Pretty much dumping the bodies, and Jeff Fahey tries to kill him, and they both go into... The car goes into the pond, and Norman escapes. Again, little moments like when he killed Jeff Fahey, or he thinks he killed him with the guitar. He's talking to the dead mother, and Woody Woodpecker's playing on the TV, and it's laughing, and so Norman's like, "Stop laughing at me, mother." I'm like, I don't know. I mean, yeah, okay. And I thought the finale was kind of lame as well. The finale didn't really do much for me. I feel this is the weakest finale in all the Psycho films, because it's this... Tracy, this investigator, and her scenes are boring. It's pretty much her... What it is, it's the writer of the film, because I saw the Psycho Legacy documentary. He didn't like the fact that in Psycho 2 you found out that the woman at the end was Norman's mom, and he wanted to retcon that and say, no, no, no. Mrs. Bates in the first film is actually the mom. So that the Maureen girl tries to go up to see Norman. He says hi to her. Thinks he hears his mom. She trips on the stairs. Kind of does the same thing like the guy in the first film died. But she gets stabbed by this Cupid statue. And he's sad because the woman he liked is dead. And then pretty much Tracy, this reporter who I don't give a shit about, whether she lives or dies, explaining, she wasn't your mother. She wanted to be your mother, and she's dead, and pretty much all this stuff, which ultimately get pretty much saying that the girl in the second movie was not really Norman's mom. The mom in the first film was really his mom, and all this shit that I don't care about. I really didn't care. I don't think it's something that needed to be explained, but the writer of Psycho 3 felt differently. And Norman stabs the corpse of the mom, and again, it kind of defeats the purpose, because he says, "But I'll finally be free." Even though he knows he's going to be committed, but he goes, "But I'll finally be free." But then it kind of negates it, because he's in the car, and he pulls out, somehow he stuck this by the cops, and it says on IMDb that Universal wanted this. Granted, I know IMDb is not always something to look at as truth, but if that's the case, Universal are idiots. But he pulls out the arm and he's stroking it, so I'm like, it negates his line that he says, "But I'll finally be free," but he's stroking the dead hand of his mom. And like the first film, how did the first film end? With the look up, just like this film, with a look up. That's what I mean, there's too many moments that's like the first film, but then even the stuff it's trying to do, all I can say, Jeff Fahey I like. Anthony Perkins is okay, but he seems off with his performance. Some of the lighting seems like he's influenced by maybe some Italian filmmakers. I don't know. Some of the death scenes, some decent gore. And he tries to do some weird stuff like the religious imagery thing of, her suicidal and, seeing the Virgin Mary. But it's there. It's there. It's okay. But I do feel it's a step down from Psycho 2, and it kind of, at the end, it almost seems like a pointless movie. Like, it doesn't leave much of an impression. I do think it's one of the weaker films of the franchise, Psycho 3. I don't, it's not awful, it's not the worst, but there's some stuff I like, but I feel like there's certain things I'm like, really? You know, the story. I mean, the Marion Crane thing. Maybe if you had gotten Janet Leigh, just so it'd be interesting to see those two together again. Maybe that'd be more interesting. I don't know. But they probably wanted a younger girl as a lead. That's why they said no. But I don't know. I mean, I think at one point they thought of Jamie Lee Curtis, but which would have been interesting, but I didn't see why she didn't do it. You know, the pity bat, something that her mom did. You know, Janet Leigh was in Halloween H2O later on. But I just... Not a bad directing debut. I don't know if this is the first film he directed, Anthony Perkins, but not a bad job. At the end of the day, it was kind of a story that wasn't worth telling. You know, that's just my opinion. But, I mean, it's there. I can't say it's not ranked because I didn't hate the movie. But either way, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you on the next one.